10 seconds till this show. We're going to get this thing kicked off right. I need energy and positivity because the season's over.
Yes.
We'll talk about this game, but then we're also talking off-season 2020, and there are great days ahead.
I like the plan.
Great days ahead.
We will not lose our last show. We're going to win ours.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Kelly, you ready?
I'm ready.
Al, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let's go.
This is the Carolina line. The Panthers season is finally in the books. Some people would say thank goodness to that because it was very tough to watch. I'm one of those people, but I am going to miss football. And now I'm rambling. I'm here with Kevin Donnelly, 13 years in the NFL on the offensive line. Al Wallace, 10 years on the D-line. Both guys played for the Panthers. It ended in a poor way, but as we expected. And now the question is, where do we go from here?
It was tough. It was a tough year. And nothing came about that we thought in our minds would transpire. When we're talking Panthers football early in the season on the Roaring Ride podcast, it was a healthier Cam Newton. This line is fixed. We got Paradis. We got some draft picks. We got these D linemen, the young cats that can go after the quarterback with the speed. Gerald McCoy, K'Wan Short right next to him. All these things, you just think it's young weapons and Christian McCaffrey. And it just went downhill fast. And we got a reprieve, right? The middle of the season there where Kyle Allen's balling and everything we're finding ways to win.
Right.
But in some ways, I think some of our better players like Christian McCaffrey masking a few things of how really depleted of talent we were, especially on the O-line and D-line with some injuries coming in, that it left us wondering as the season went on out, we're like, is this ever going to end?
You said it, Kevin. So many pieces on paper. I mean, it looks amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited about Brian Burns and Christian Miller and the additions, Bruce Irvin on that defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Gerald McCoy pairing up with KK Short. And you're like, hey, this transition, this 3-4, we might have something. 27th in the league in sacks in 2018. We're going to improve on that, and we did in a big way. And that kind of masked the deficiencies we saw in the running game. Too many of the same type of body styles in the interior part of the defense. Luke Kuechly really struggled. Now, he had a grown man's game, this Sunday. We saw him rack up a lot of tackles, be physical, get guys on the ground. But it just did not. This season didn't materialize into what we thought it was going to be. But the injury to Cam Newton late in the preseason changed everything. We didn't know how much it changed. We should have looked back to 2018 and said, hey, without Cam, this team is completely different. And Kyle Allen, for a minute, had us all riding high. 5-2. Lovey-dovey was lighting up, and we had fun. We had fun in here. We had fun in that stadium watching him really outplay, all expectations.
Right.
And then the bottom fell out, and this thing went downhill fast.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, Ron Rivera is no longer the Panthers head coach. Is this going to be a complete rebuild? What should fans expect now? But where do they go right now?
Well, I think the big issue right now is Cam Newton. What's his health? Will he be back? That's going to linger this offseason, unfortunately, because we're going to want answers sooner rather than later. But it is not a rebuild if Cam is back.
Okay.
There's enough young pieces there with a high draft pick. It's not just the 7th pick in the draft, but that's the 37th pick, and you just go through or 39th pick, or you go through the rounds. I mean, it's picking high in every single round.
Right.
So those are some really good players. I mean, when you're picking the 7th pick in the second round, I mean, there's guys that were probably first-round talent that slipped to that space, and you can go grab them.
There.
So there's that opportunity to get some really good players that are impact guys off the bat. So to me, that's the question. Now, if Cam's not part of the formula, this is a complete rebuild. You're starting from scratch. You keep a lot of these young guys. You find the older ones that are great in the locker room. I've heard, from different sources that the locker room wasn't great. There was not a lot of cohesion. There was not a lot of, everyone on the same page, battling and grinding every single day. I mean, all reports to me, it's the coaching staff worked above and beyond to try and set them up for success. And some of those guys failed. And you're going to have to find out those guys, and they're gone. When you're part of a rebuild, you have to reinstitute a culture that I especially think for young guys, and we can talk further on this, but to me, it's got to be strict discipline. And at the same time, you've got to have a lot of affirming words and positivity and energy. because the younger guys today, because of our culture and social media and all that, they love themselves a lot. They love the Instagram. They love the attention. There's nothing we can do about it. Call me an old geezer or whatever. It's just what it is. But that coach, he can be an older guy, but he's going to have to be plugged into, in the past when you could grind on a guy 10 times in a row and tell him he sucks, you got to do better, your technique's awful, you need to do this to improve. If you don't do that, you're out, you're not starting, you might not be on the team. And then back it up with one, hey, dude, you played a great game that game, keep doing that, and then you beat him down again. And now it's almost like if you criticize a guy 3 or 4 times, if you don't back it up with something positive real quick after that, they can go in the tank.
Yeah,
they're going to go in the tank.
We'll sit here both and be the old guys who are going to, talk about the glory days and how it used to be. But I just remember looking at Twitter, just social media, after that football game, after losing 8 straight games this year, and what I saw was guys on social media being hype about their outfits in the cars. Yesterday, not today, some today, but yesterday, the pictures going into a game to get bludgeoned to death, 8 straight losses, and what you wanted to put out there to everybody, what you wanted to see was how proud you were for your shoes and your outfit and your new car. Like, that's what matters. And to me, I'm furious by that, because I was an undrafted guy. I fought and scrapped for 10 years for everything, every second of every snap that I played. And to have the game, the way I feel, be disrespected by that type of attitude just burns me up. So it's going to have to be a complete culture change. You have a foundation, but I think this organization is not old enough to be established enough to hold that weight on its own. The guys that were a part of the foundation, that were the Carolina Panthers, when you think about this team, those guys, they're leaving. Thomas Davis left. He's gone. Ryan Khalil, gone. So, some of those Greg Olsen,
Peppers.
We don't know. We'll talk. Yeah, all those guys are gone. That culture, that foundation that I feel like, the guys before us and we were able to build with our Super Bowl run, they're out of that building. Who will the Carolina Panthers be? Because I think this year we saw it complete. The history of what we established, I'm talking about defense, got washed away. Yeah. A soft, not very physical, doesn't take pride in it type of defense. That hurt every week, sitting up there and watching that unit go out and giving up 130 yards a game. That was pitiful.
I've worked in college football 7 straight years now, and I see the youth, how they come out of high school, and then we've had guys drafted that go on to the NFL. It's tough. This new coach and how they're going to try and work to improve this, it's going to be a tough process, because it takes a special coach to be able to blend, like I said earlier, is that discipline, but also a guy that can put an arm around a guy when they need to do it, because these guys need more of that now.
Can evolve.
It's a different generation.
I just know this new coach and the things that they need to be successful moving forward, it's going to take a lot of discipline. We saw a lot of breakdowns after Ron Rivera left. And, that coach is going to have to come in and be tough. I mean, John Fox was tough on us in 2002. He literally said, I'm going to put you through hell, and we're going to find out who belongs and who doesn't. I think you're in a better spot if you're one of the younger guys. They look at those guys as clean slates, guys we can raise up in our culture, in our system. If you're an old vet and you're used to doing it your way, you're going to run up against a new coach who's going to get you out, because the last thing he wants you to do is influence the younger crowd because they look up to you. He wants to be the top dog. He wants to be, on the pedestal that everybody's looking to and hanging off of his words. So, man, it's coming. It's going to be a big change.
Where do we go from here? How does this team improve? And I think we've hinted on it that, Coach Rivera, when he came in, was disciplinarian, and he even said it, and we mentioned on the show last week, that with so many young guys coming in, or new players, he should have almost reinstalled that culture again with these guys, the way he did training camp and some certain things, to really put a basis and a starting point of what this culture needs to be, instead of counting on some of the veterans, because those had gotten further and fewer between, with some of them leaving, as you mentioned, like Thomas Davis, Peppers, and guys like that. So I think going forward, it really is the head coach. That's the guy that the next 5 years is going to shape your program, maybe even longer, if he has a lot of success. So what's that guy look like?
The leadership on this team, I hate to say it this way, but they're not Carolina Panthers. Bruce Irvin is a Seahawk.
Oh, you're
Jerry
right.
McCoy is a Buccaneer. That's the culture they were raised in. So you
bled
brought leadership
blue.
in here. Yeah, they didn't grow up in this team. They weren't drafted here. The fans didn't cheer for them once they were flown in right after the draft. That's not part of their DNA. Yes, they're on the team through free agency, and we talked about it before. Like, I'm not in love with a free agent coming in and being your star, being the centerpiece of your football team. It needs to be a Luke Kuechly. It needs to be a
homegrown.
Yeah, homegrown.
You need guys, and everyone wants to be liked and get likes and retweets and reposts on Instagram. And so it's, sometimes, it's almost like some guys are too nice to be able to call out a teammate and say, you're not doing this right now. You're screwing up rookie. You're screwing up 5-year vet. I know I'm only a 4-year guy, but this is the way the system is. This is how it has to be done. If you're not in your gap, there's consequences. You're not one of us. You're not a guy that's being a team player when you're not carrying your end of the bargain. And frankly, I don't know who those guys really are right now. Who sets the tone?
One guy that might not be in the locker room that's a big part of that culture is Greg Olsen. We saw in his last game there were a lot of goodbye moments. He was on the Jumbotron. Everybody got a little teared up about that. It seemed like he was saying goodbye, and this is his last time in a Panthers uniform. He said he hasn't decided if he's retiring or not, but it doesn't sound like he's coming back.
Yeah, it's, I watch Greg, and he's on the Jumbotron, and I saw him breathe in the air. I saw his eyes dart around the stadium and kind of take it all in one last time, if that's going to be it. And to share that moment, standing close with Kuechly and, Christian McCaffrey, his son Christian McCaffrey. You could see
Those have
that.
been great.
Yeah, that's been great. You can see how much it meant. 9-year run here. Got him from the Chicago Bears. We had a great year. Obviously from the U. Was a great tight end down at the University of Miami. And battled like Thomas Davis, another guy I said was a part of the culture and that toughness that the Carolina Panthers have been known for on both sides of the ball. A tight end that put up, 200 or 300 yards, 1,000 yards, 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
So this guy is one of the all-time greats, not just for the Panthers. He cemented his legacy here with the Panthers, but of all time. I saw the stat where they flashed Shannon Sharp and Gonzalez. The names he was up there with were unbelievable.
Yeah.
So for him to drink it all in, and I watched him breathe that Bank of America air, it meant a lot. We've all been there, and I know he wants to play, but he's a smart guy. He understands his body, he understands where he is in his career and what he can bring for the team. And I honestly think that in those situations, it's tough for the coaches, new coaches coming in, because they have to move a guy like Greg Olsen on in order for a guy like Ian Thomas to thrive. And I think he's ready. And for me, I would love to see Greg here for the community, but Ian Thomas, it's his time. He's ready to do it. He's ready to take the ball and run with it. He's learned from Greg. Yeah.
This is home to him. It will always be home. The good work that he's done with Levine and numerous other community things that he's done. Those are guys that just leave me with so much Panther pride.
Yeah.
As someone that was part of the organization for a while, and so you feel like you're part of that family, and knowing that there's this family member, you're just excited that there's just going out there and just doing great things on the field and off. And what you brought up, the U, and the first year he was here was with Shockley was here also.
Yeah, Jeremy Shockey.
Shockey was here. That was some of the most fun,
exciting,
so much fun watching that. And Chud and Cam Newton, beginning his career and targeting those guys and having these two tight ends that were just butt kickers out there. It was some of the most fun I watched. Their record wasn't the best that season, but it was really fun to watch those guys, and certainly was. I think the impact he's made over his career is we won't even know until he's gone. It's almost like with Thomas Davis. Mm-hmm. You don't realize what you've lost. You think you can move on. You think guys will step up. They'll fill different voids. But it's not an instant transition. It usually takes a year or two for it really to get covered. And that's a concern for next year, because offensively, he was the rock. It seemed like with these young quarterbacks that had to play, everyone was always in the right formation. Everyone was where they needed to be. The execution of the play was well. The huddle was broken. The things they could control, Greg Olsen, I don't think got enough credit for just a quick word to this player, a quick word to that
Coach
one.
on the
Here,
field.
I'm on the ball, you're off this time. Like those little things that kept things running smoothly when you had two quarterbacks that are barely keeping their head above water this year. And we want to appreciate that fact because it wasn't a great season this year, but it's something that certainly needs to be pointed out.
We talk about that leadership and the guys that are left. That's another voice that's leaving that locker room. And who's the next guy up? I mean, Christian McCaffrey is not the most vocal guy. He's going to do it by the work, by example, not necessarily how
Kinda
Greg
like Luke.
goes out there. Yeah, so he was such a big part of the success when he was good and Cam was healthy. I don't know that it was a better tandem. Maybe Brady and Gronk,
right?
A tight end and
But other
receiver.
than that,
Other than that, man, he was absolutely electric to see him. Even when he started slowing down and catch the ball and just rambling down the field, I couldn't help but chuckle because you knew that speed was gone. But he was trying to get down and get out of the way.
No, and for me, like I know he's going to go into broadcasting and be a huge success. He's talented. He really is. But like, it's still part of me that thinks he could be could be a really good NFL coach.
Yes.
Because he's got this.
His dad's coach.
Right, exactly. Coached forever,
Coach, yeah.
state championships, and
Jersey.
raising his boys and coaching them. He absorbed all that growing up.
Oh yeah, you've seen the Little League
There's no
videos.
voice that rings out more than Olsen. I can be on the practice at training camp on a field 2 fields away, and he yells something play related or gets made fun of Thomas Davis or something. And the voice carries everywhere, and like you kind of tense up a little bit because it feels like a coach yelling out there. And I'm like, he's a great communicator. He's brilliant with the game of football, and it just wouldn't surprise me after a few years that the broadcast is not fulfilling what he needs to survive every day. He needs that competition. I could see him easily transitioning right into coaching.